Welcome back. Ahead of what is perhaps the biggest eating-focused holiday of the year, food recalls have been grabbing Americans' attention, with recent recalls ranging from carrots to poultry to frozen waffles over concerns from foodborne illnesses like E. coli, salmonella, and listeria. It comes after a Gallup poll shows that trust in the government's ability to ensure food safety has reached a record low. And as the FDA, which regulates more than 3/4 of the country's food supply, is preparing for a shakeup with the incoming Trump administration. President-elect Trump announced his picks to lead the FDA, who will ultimately report up to Mr. Trump's pick for Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, Kennedy's faced some criticism for his vaccine skepticism, but his pledges on food safety have resonated with some lawmakers, potentially earning him some support from Democrats. Joining me now is Christina Jewett, who covers the FDA for the New York Times. Also with me, Susan Mayne, the former director of the FDA's Center for Food and Safety and Applied Nutrition, and currently a professor at Yale's School of Public Health. Christina, let's start with you. We mentioned just some of the current food recalls in effect, and it feels like it's been like an uptick for months. Is that just a perception, or are we actually seeing a rise in foodborne illnesses?
You know, it's really more of a perception. The numbers don't really bear out a big increase, but when you have these really iconic names like Boar's Head, with Listeria, and McDonald's with E. coli, that's when people do start to, notice these outbreaks. And so the numbers do seem like they're adding up. And you also have a better ability to detect things. And you also have the USDA going out to take a look at ready-to-eat meat facilities to make sure things are shipshape. And so you got a couple more big recalls out of that as well.
So what do consumers need to know as they're heading into this holiday season, Christina?
I'm cooking for Thanksgiving myself, and cooking is considered a kill step. And so as you go through that process, you're really making your food quite safe. Some of the more concerning products are the cold cuts that you put right on your sandwich. It goes from the plant onto your plate. Same thing with a sliced onion, right from, the processing facility where those were cut up in Colorado onto the McDonald's quarter pounders. So, as I think about my, recipes for Thanksgiving, things are pretty heavily cooked. So I'm not too concerned about that meal tomorrow. But yeah, in general, in the food safety system, when you have items that are not processed in that way, not cooked at home, you do have higher risk.
So, Susan, I picked up on what Christina said about the fact that the FDA is just finding out before the fact that some of this food may not be safe, and therefore that's what's leading to these recalls. How should people be thinking about these food recalls? Is it a sign that things are getting worse, or is it a sign that the system's actually functioning correctly and catching these things before they actually become a threat?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the outbreaks and the recalls. The purpose of the outbreak investigations is to identify an outbreak as soon as possible and to keep the number of cases, the number of people who've gotten sick, as small as possible, and then interview those people and figure out what may have been causing those illnesses. And what we've seen in recent years is our ability to identify even those outbreaks has gone up dramatically just in the last decade. And the number of people who are sickened in these outbreaks has gone down. So, for example, if you think about something like one of the big outbreaks we've been focused in on in the news, the carrot outbreak, for example, we had 39 people who were sickened in that outbreak. Tragically, there was a death. About 39 people. And in the past, outbreaks were much larger than this, and our ability to detect them was less. So that's a key piece of it. So we detect the outbreak, we identify the food, and then get that message out to retailers to get the food off the shelves and to consumers so they can get it out of their kitchens. So that's how the food safety system is working, to try to get earlier and earlier and earlier to protect consumers from unsafe food. And in some cases, products are being recalled before any illnesses. For example, if they've been tested for microbial contamination and found to harbor bacteria, those are being recalled as well. A number of recalls are also based upon undeclared allergens, pulling those off the shelves before they cause illness. So that's where we are with our U.S. food safety system. So I agree with Christina that families should feel confident when they sit down to the table for their Thanksgiving meal. They should feel confident in the safety of the food.
So, Christina, this all, of course, comes as we're getting our first look at who's going to be in charge of the FDA in the new Trump administration. Tell us more about Marty Makary. Sorry.
Well, he is sort of a noted contrarian over the years, and that contrarian streak, came to the fore over a decade ago when he sort of had the courage to speak out about errors, medical errors in the healthcare system, hospitals sort of operating on the wrong side of the patient. And he, on sort of the right arm instead of the left arm. So he spoke up about that, and he went around and helped hospitals fix those problems. More recently, the contrarian streak has sort of cut into the issues related to the COVID pandemic with some criticism of lockdowns and also a prediction about herd immunity that was a bit bold and didn't quite bear out and made some waves. But he is seen as someone who's an experienced researcher, somewhat of a institutional person with some criticism, some pointed criticisms of the system. So it'll be really interesting to see what he does.
Susan, you served in multiple administrations. How much can a change in an administration impact the FDA's ability to regulate our food supply?
Well, the folks at the FDA are there working day in and day out to protect our food safety system. They're also working on nutrition issues and have taken numerous policy initiatives to help improve the healthfulness of our food supply. And that was true across all three administrations that I worked in, the Obama administration, the Trump administration, and the Biden administration. So those folks are working hard to execute that work. Obviously, the FDA commissioner has a big role to play in terms of what work is prioritized. So certain things will make their way through the system to the HHS for clearance and then to the White House and ultimately move forward as new policies. The administration's priorities will really help determine which things are going to move most aggressively. And the statements from RFK Jr. about trying to address the epidemic of diet-related chronic disease, that's exactly what FDA wants to do, is to really address the epidemic of diet-related chronic disease. So those policies are areas that are very well aligned with the mission of the FDA on the food side of the house.
But how do we square, Susan, kind of the way that Donald Trump talks about deregulating things? He's talked about deregulating so many different industries, but then on the same token, he's installed someone at HHS like RFK Jr. who has talked about installing regulations to try and deal with some of these issues that you're talking about. Is it that he's kind of picking and choosing the things that he wants to regulate, or how should we interpret that?
Well, much of the work of the FDA will not require new regulations, just simply executing the ones that already exist to help protect our food supply. It'll be interesting to see if they are contemplating any new ones, any new changes in regulations and authorities to address some of the issues of chemicals in the food supply. But short of that, FDA has the authorities it needs to do the labeling, to inform consumers, to execute the food safety mission. But the administration may be looking for new authorities to help move this more rapidly along to address this epidemic of diet-related chronic disease and make America healthy again. So it'll be interesting to see how that particular dynamic plays out in this administration.
All right, Christina, before you go, what's the #1 side dish you've got planned for tomorrow?
I am a fan of my homemade cranberry sauce with a little bit of orange zest. So.
Ooh, that is controversial, though, right? I mean, I'm a cranberry in the can guy, so I might be a little skeptical at your dinner table. I'm not going to lie.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that, Ryan.
All right, Christina Jewett, Susan Mayne, thank you both for being here. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.